Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, born on October the 7th, 1952, in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, Russia, is one of the world's most prominent. His rise from a modest upbringing in Soviet-era Russia to a long-standing tenure as Russia's leader has reshaped both his nation and its global relationships. This biography outlines his life, political career, and the influence he's wielded domestically and internationally. Putin grew up in a communal apartment in Leningrad, living a humble lifestyle with his parents. His father, Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin, served in the Soviet Navy during World War II, and his mother, Maria Ivanovna Putina, worked in a factory. Putin's early life was marked by post-war hardships, and he developed a fascination with the Soviet intelligence agency, the KGB, from an early age. He pursued judo and sambo, becoming a skilled practitioner, which instilled discipline and resilience that would later define his leadership style. In 1975, Putin graduated from Leningrad State University with a law degree and promptly joined the KGB. He served as an intelligence officer, spending much of his time in Dresden, East Germany, from 1985 to 1990. Putin's experience in the KGB deeply influenced his views on loyalty, control, and power. In 1991, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, Putin left the KGB, holding the rank of lieutenant colonel. Putin's transition to politics began under the mentorship of Anatoly Sobchak, the mayor of St. Petersburg, and a former law professor at Leningrad State University. Putin served as Sobchak's deputy, where he focused on international affairs and economic relations for the city. This role expanded his network and introduced him to key figures in Russian politics and business. In 1996, Putin moved to Moscow. Taking a position in the administration of then-President Boris Yeltsin, he swiftly climbed the political ladder, gaining a reputation as a competent and loyal administrator. By 1998, Putin was appointed head of the Federal Security Service, FSB, the successor to the KGB. In 1999, he was appointed prime minister by Yeltsin. Later that year, Yeltsin unexpectedly resigned, naming Putin as acting president. Putin won the presidential election in 2000, marking the beginning of his leadership. His early presidency focused on restoring order and stability to Russia after the tumultuous 1990s, a decade marked by economic collapse, crime, and political instability. Under Putin's leadership, the Russian economy began to recover, buoyed by rising oil and gas prices. He implemented economic reforms, centralized power in the Kremlin, and pursued policies aimed at reasserting Russia's influence domestically and internationally. A key moment during his first term was the 2002 Moscow theater hostage crisis, in which over 120 hostages died. Putin's government faced criticism for its handling of the crisis, but he maintained strong support, largely because of his portrayal as a decisive leader committed to national security. His tough stance on the Chechen insurgency in the North Caucasus also contributed to his image as a protector of Russian sovereignty. In 2004, Putin was re-elected, and he continued to consolidate power by reducing the influence of regional governors and increasing the state's control over the media and large corporations. By the end of his second term in 2008, Putin had positioned himself as a strongman, controlling much of Russia's political landscape. However, the Russian constitution limited presidents to 2 consecutive terms, requiring Putin to step down. Putin's protege, Dmitry Medvedev, succeeded him as president in 2008, while Putin assumed the role of prime minister. Although Medvedev was nominally in charge, Putin remained the dominant figure in Russian politics, shaping major policies, particularly in foreign affairs. This period saw significant economic growth, but also included the 2008 financial crisis, which strained the Russian economy. During Medvedev's presidency, Russia reasserted its military influence, notably in the 2008 war with Georgia. This conflict foreshadowed a more assertive foreign policy stance that would define Putin's later years in power. In 2012, Putin returned to the presidency. Putin's popularity remained strong, especially outside major urban centers. One of the most consequential events of Putin's third term was the annexation of Crimea in 2014, following political upheaval in Ukraine. This move was widely condemned by Western nations, leading to economic sanctions against Russia. However, within Russia, the annexation was immensely popular and solidified Putin's image as a leader who was willing to protect Russian interests abroad. The annexation marked the beginning of strained relations between Russia and the West, as Putin pursued a policy of military assertiveness and political influence in former Soviet states. In 2015, Russia entered the Syrian civil war, supporting the government of Bashar al-Assad. This intervention allowed Russia to reassert itself as a major player in the Middle East, challenging U.S. influence in the region. Putin's strategy in Syria underscored his commitment to maintaining Russia's geopolitical relevance. Domestically, Putin has implemented policies that emphasize stability. Under his administration, the state has exerted control over the media. While this approach has drawn criticism for its authoritarian tendencies, Putin's supporters argue that it has brought stability and economic progress after the chaotic post-Soviet years. In 2020, constitutional amendments were passed that reset Putin's term limits, theoretically allowing him to remain in power until 2036. Putin's leadership has deeply impacted international politics, from the European Union's eastern borders to the Middle East and beyond. His approach has been characterized by a mix of assertive foreign policy, strategic alliances, and opposition to NATO's eastward expansion. The relationship between Russia and the West has reached Cold War-era levels of tension, particularly after the war in Ukraine in 2022, which sparked widespread condemnation and sanctions from many nations. Putin is a stabilizing force and a restorer of Russian pride. His influence on Russia's political structure, economy, and foreign relations is profound, and his leadership style reflects his early KGB experience, marked by pragmatism, secrecy, and a preference for control. Whether he steps down in 2036 or earlier, Putin's mark on Russia and global politics is likely to remain significant for generations.